You think you know me.
Today at Security VIP, we feature the founder and CTO of Nand Logic, Derrick Jones. Get ready for nothing but the truth.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Security VIP podcast. It's your home for nothing but the truth. As always, I'm your host, Taylor May. And on today's episode, I'm excited because we are featuring the founder and CTO of Nand Logic, Mr. Derrick Jones, to the podcast. So Derrick, my friend, welcome to SVIP. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Doing good, man. And I wish I could have said this early on, like, because usually what happens, Derrick, is when I find something cool on whether I see it online or a video, I usually reach out to that person. But you actually reached out to me first. I'm like, damn it, he reached out to me first, because when I saw that video at the conference, I was like, dude, I need to speak with this guy. But I'm glad you reached out to me first, because now we're having this conversation. I put an article about you guys, but man, I'm just excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to be here.
Well, for my listeners, Derrick, man, why don't you give some context about your background, your experience, and then we'll dive into kind of Nand Logic and then obviously talk about AEGIS from there.
Okay.
But walk me through kind of your background.
Yeah, so I'm an electrical engineer by profession. That's what I went to college for. Graduated with a degree in electrical engineering and computer engineering specialization. And my field of specialty is microprocessor design, ASIC design, and FPGA design. And that's what I pretty much did when I graduated college and went into the industry for the first 20 years. I worked on various microprocessor design teams and ASIC design teams and FPGA design teams at some of the top companies in the country at IBM, Texas Instruments, Motorola, Rockwell Collins, Cubic, a variety of different companies where I was on a variety of different projects doing, a variety of different tasks, but the basis of it all was FPGA design or microprocessor design or ASIC design.
I did see the background with Motorola. Obviously, they're a common name in the security industry. So I guess walk me through kind of the mindset of founding Nand Logic. I mean, what was were you like me? You're like, you know what? I want to do my own thing. I've got all the credibility. I've got the experience. I'm ready to do my own thing. Walk me through kind of the mindset you had to start the company.
Okay, so as my design skills grew, I started on the side at home to kind of develop my own IP library, because I was trying to challenge myself to grow as an engineer. And so I started designing my own custom built microprocessors. And of course, when I got the processors designed, I had to design a subsystem around the processors. So then I started designing the processor subsystem, the peripheral ASICs. And then before I knew it, I had a full-blown microcontroller. And I just kept going. And, several years later, I had a full-blown SoC, fifth generation, where I had multiple cores of my own homegrown microprocessor embedded in these SoCs. And so from there, it was really an intuitive move to just move into establishing my own engineering firm and using my own IP to help my own clients, right? So that's what I did. So that's what Nand Logic really is. So Nand Logic is an engineering design firm, and we specialize in embedded systems design, embedded SoC design. So we design embedded systems tailored to our clients' applications and tailored to their specific mission sets. And that's predominantly what we do. So we recently decided to go into a more, say, enterprise version or security version of sectors of industry. And what we did was we took one of our SoCs, one of our embedded system platforms, and built an application on top of that. And out of that application, that's where AEGIS pretty much grew from and came from. So AEGIS was, our first venture into the enterprise space, the product enterprise space and the product commercial space. And it was built on top of our embedded systems.
And for guys and girls maybe listening to the episode, if you have a second to watch the episode with Derrick and I, you'll see the AEGIS device right next to him on his background. It's actually a super cool device. I've actually put an article about the device. We featured Derrick in that article on the website, so go check that out. But walk us through, Derek, the device, what it does. I see AI-driven monitoring platform solution. I know it does a combination of a multitude of different things. And honestly, man, when I look at this, I look at so many applications for not only enterprise environments, but also SMB environments, mom and pop environments. We talk about maybe the quick service restaurant space. You talk about that kind of environment with fast food chain. This device could be in that as well as residential, man. We talk about homeowners.
Mhm.
I think one of the first comments I made to you, man, was this is like a smoke alarm on steroids because honestly, for what it does. So maybe
Right.
walk me through and walk our listeners through kind of the concept of AEGIS and kind of what it's all about.
Okay, so Aegis is an intelligent monitoring platform, and the reason why I say platform is because, to some extent, that allows us to tailor it to the specific environment and the specific use case of each customer base that we have. And so, the thing that makes it intelligent is that it takes in multiple streams of data from several different sensor arrays that it has on the device locally, and also that it can connect to within the environment that it's in. All of that data is then aggregated across several AI learning, machine learning algorithms and AI models. And those models pull together all of that data to create an accurate picture of the environment. And then Aegis starts to send you updates about the current state of the environment and even indeed predicting future states that the environment will be in, near-term future states. So it does this for security, your indoor air quality monitoring. It monitors sound through a feature that we have called intelligent digital signal processing. And it also monitors your temperature and humidity. But it does all of this, in a very, very intelligent way. So you're not overwhelmed with a bunch of alarms and alerts or suggestions or things like that. It uses all of these different streams to get a better understanding of the environment. And again, based on how it was tailored for that specific environment, it will alert you to custom things that are going on in your environment.
I'm thinking here, Derek, and just maybe you can give me some counsel here. You think about schools, commercial buildings, there's always been a code where they have to live up to, like a fire code, for example. And the reason why
Right.
they put fire code in place is because schools and buildings back then used to burn down.
Yeah.
Well, some fires are not too common anymore in schools, but
Mhm.
I almost wonder, man, like, do you think that like this device could replace every fire system or fire code inside of a school or a commercial building just because of everything else that it does beyond just detect temperature control and humidity and things like that? What do you think there?
It definitely can be used to update, old fire alarm systems, smoke detection systems, those sorts of things, because the indoor air quality monitoring feature allows us to monitor several different types of particulates and pollutants that are in the air, not just the burning, of carbon, which, what is indicated in fire, or carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. It depends on what you're specifically trying to track or what you're specifically monitoring in the environment. I mean, we can detect vaping, of course, we can detect smoke from carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, just a wide range of different types of chemicals. And again, it does all of this intelligently. So let me give you an example of what I mean by, intelligent. Aegis is monitoring all of these different particulates, but it's also monitoring the rate of change and the pervasiveness of these pollutants that are in your environment. And it can tell by the rate of change how quickly this gas or these gases or pollutants are spreading throughout the environment. It can tell by how quickly it is doing that, how dangerous the situation will become in a very short period of time. So it can predict based on what the current state is and based on the rate of change, based on the pervasiveness of this gas, what the situation and what the environment will be the next 15 minutes, the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So it starts alerting you to these conditions way before you get there. And that, is the key thing. That's the intelligent part. It'll give you suggestions on maybe you should open up a window, or are you cooking? Is there a reason why I'm seeing this? And if it gets no responses from you, it can take more immediate action, even to the point of calling the authorities, playing a pre-recorded message, and I'm pushing data to them of the current state of the environment. I mean, imagine, firemen having, the current, pervasiveness of every single type of dangerous or toxic gas that is being spewed into the environment before they make entry. Imagine if they knew the exact temperature of the room before they made entry. If there was a person in the room prior to the fire starting, if there are individuals still in the room. Imagine if they can see into that environment before they enter into it. That is the power and flexibility and the intelligence that bring to bear in those scenarios.
You're fusing all this data into the device, and it just gives so much more of a heads up to first responders as well as proactiveness when it comes to detecting like a fire, detecting an incident, detecting something that's malicious or something that's harmful in the air. And that's I think about server rooms with data centers. I think about detecting that. I think about again residential. I mean, I've got a daughter, and I just welcomed my son into the world a couple weeks ago, and we use a device called an owlet around his ankle just to monitor like heart rate and oxygen. But having a
Yeah,
device like that to monitor air control and pollutants in the air, because you never know if that oxygen would dip, especially if you have a baby that would maybe was in the NICU, maybe they haven't got their oxygen
yeah,
100% right. Having something like this to say, hey, 15 or 20 minutes of a heads up, say, hey, this is what the environment or the air control is going to look like, can help save lives, honestly, man. I mean, especially
definitely.
scenarios like that.
Yes, definitely. And in addition to that, like I said, the platform is open and customizable. So depending upon what sensors you're using in your environment, Aegis can integrate with them, right? So now you have all of that data coming to you from one source and not 8 different sources. So this, monitor that you have on your son or your daughter, that information can be, gathered by Aegis and presented to you through the exact same Aegis app. So that's what's, really cool about it is that you can send a variety of different streams of sensor data to it, and it will use the intelligent machine learning algorithms that it has already built in on the edge device to add that data to the circumstances of the surrounding environment to give you information about that stream in addition to all the other things.
Well, I mean, we talk about interoperability a lot in the industry. We talk about open versus proprietary systems. And obviously, this device is open because it allows you to feed in solutions to the system as well as learn on its own in the certain environment. So I do like that aspect with the device. Derek, walk me through kind of when it comes to these fused data sources that you're pulling in, facial recognition, other attributes that you're pulling in the system. Is there certain like codes or technologies or vendors that you're working with already inside the Aegis system, or is it still solely your own software and codes with
So,
this?
so Aegis starts off as our basic software and code,
Okay.
right? And it's at a very, very basic level. I mean, we have our own proprietary busing protocol that we use, which formats and packets all of the data and sort of kind of moves the data around throughout the SOC, and also moves the data around throughout the environment. But it's very customizable and tailorable. So we didn't want to adopt a specific protocol or a specific industry standard because there are several. There are
Right.
so many, and we don't want to have to back out of that to retarget it to something else. So we created just a very baseline protocol and communication system where we can easily write wrapper software on top of that to integrate it into any one of the systems that are already out there and that already exist. So that's going to allow us to tailor it to each different environment. That way we're not locked into anything. And if there's any particular security protocol that a client wants to use, they're free to use that, right? And Aegis can, like I said, be integrated into their system, which already exists. That's the cool part, right? Like, so, Aegis is an on-edge device, right? So it has cameras on it, has a thermal camera, an HD camera. But the cool part is, bringing it into an environment like a school, you may already have your own CCTV network set up, right? And instead of adding additional cameras, Aegis can come in and you can direct those camera feeds to Aegis. So our facial recognition software and facial recognition AI models will aggregate all of the data coming from those individual feeds, right? And Aegis can monitor multiple cameras. So it uses several different arbitration schemes to where that it can monitor multiple cameras. And it'll switch in between these different camera feeds. And it'll run these algorithms on the data that it's getting from these different feeds. So it's designed to be very flexible, right? And it's designed to easily integrate into an existing environment if you already have one, an existing security system if it's already there, or it's designed to be a standalone security system for an environment that doesn't have it.
Derek, walk us through like a typical deployment of Aegis. Let's use a school for example, and walk me through how it's plugged in. Is it only interior? Can we do exterior? How big is it? How far can it detect? Walk me through kind of that typical deployment process.
Right. So Aegis is about the size of an iPad, the length and width of an iPad Pro. That's about the size of it. And typically it has to be mounted, I would say between 7 to 10 feet so that it can have, a wide view of the area that it's in. And depending upon the size of the area, you might need more than one module. But a typical, school hallway Depending upon how long the hallway is, you might need two to cover the hallway from beginning to end. So you would mount them up. You could mount it on a turret if you want to, but it could be a stationary mount. And basically, part of the onboarding process is we have to know the security system or the CCTV system that you already have in place, right? We know that, we kind of study it, and then we take the time to help you integrate the systems, right? So depending upon whatever the security protocols that you already have in place, we integrate AEGIS into all of it. So whatever those integration steps take, that's what we would do. That's pretty much our bread and butter anyway, is embedded system design and development. So we're fluent on how to do all of that. And so we take that headache off of the client. So basically, the client then, downloads our mobile apps, and it also installs our dashboard security system. So we have a dashboard, web-based system that comes in, and you can add as many AEGIS devices to that web base as you want. Okay, and so what you do is you start adding the AEGIS devices to your dashboard. And then each AEGIS device, you decide on what additional streams of data you want to direct to that at the edge AEGIS device, right? So let's say, for example, in a certain sector of your school, you have one AEGIS device or two AEGIS devices in that sector. But in that sector, you have 4 cameras. Well, you can split the cameras up amongst the AEGIS devices to send 2 cameras to one and 2 cameras to the other, or you can have both monitoring both cameras, right? And using their arbitration scheme, they'll go through and monitor each individual camera strip. Let's say, for example, you have a building management system that is already reporting your indoor air quality to a certain extent. You can funnel that data directly to either one of those AEGISes or directly to both, from whatever area in the building you want to funnel that specific data from to AEGIS. And AEGIS will integrate that indoor air quality data with its own sensing system. And so, it can provide you with information about sectors that is not even in, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be directly, physically in that sector, right? All you have to do is funnel the data to it from another sector, and it can aggregate over all of that data and start providing you with intelligence about what's going on in that environment that is not even locally in, at the time or at the moment. So what this allows for is it allows you to upgrade your current system. So now all of a sudden your current system becomes intelligent.
Right.
If you had a bland, basic CCTV system, it now becomes an intelligent system just by integrating AEGIS into that environment. And the same goes true of your indoor air quality system that you have, or your fire detection and monitoring system. Just by adding this device, you're adding intelligence at the edge, but you also add an intelligence system on it.
I'm just thinking of my high school, man, because when I graduated here in Dallas, Plano Senior High, it's a 6A school district, pretty big school district here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And it's an open campus field where we had like 4 or 5 different classroom buildings. So it would make sense to have an AEGIS device at every single building at least. And some of these buildings are 2-story buildings, So
Right.
I feel like this is almost a must and a mandate, at least from my side. And that's why I'm pushing education so much right now on this podcast. But I mean, I'm gonna ask you this question, Derrick, and everyone's gonna ask me this question anyway. Is like, what's the $1 million question? Like, how much does it cost? Like, when can we get our hands on it? When is it gonna launch? Things like that. That obviously my end users and my community will ask me that question constantly, and they already have. So I mean, walk us through kind of the go-to-market strategy.
Right. So, so the go-to-market strategy is twofold. So AEGIS is coming out in a enterprise-based version and then a home-based version.
Nice.
The home-based version should release second quarter of next year, and the enterprise version will be ready for deployment fourth quarter of this year. So, so the process is basically so NetLogic is not a security company. We're not a security firm. Again, we're an engineering design firm. We specialize in embedded systems design. So this is technology that we want to license to security firms, to security companies, and to security system integrators. And so a part of the licensing process is us integrating AEGIS into the environment for you, right? So, so that makes the pricing structure a little dynamic, depending upon who the client is,
right,
what the environment is, how many AEGISes they want, what their system is. So you'll be charged based on how many engineers we need to devote to this onboarding process, and how long the onboarding process will take. And then each Aegis device, again, is also custom, right? You have a range of cameras that you can choose from. Those are thermal cameras and the HD cameras. You may want to add additional sensors to the platform because you might want to be looking for specific types of pollutants in the environment. Imagine this being put in a clean room at a pharmaceutical laboratory, or a clean room at a semiconductor fabrication laboratory. So they're looking for, very different types of pollutants and particulate matter in the air that will be different from a school or your home. So each platform, to some degree, will be built and tailored to each individual customer. So that's why the pricing structure will be a little dynamic. Now, for the home-based version, we're trying to get it in between 600 to 800 US for the home-based model, and we're working very hard at that. I think we're gonna, meet our target when it comes to that. But like I said, for the enterprise-based version, it's almost built a la carte, and I would say the baseline starting price will be 1100 US, and then from there, it should be able to go up to about 2200, and even higher, depending upon, again, your specific, your custom environment, and how you want to tailor it.
Is that a recurring cost, or is it a one-time cost? Walk me through.
So that's a one-time fee. So we didn't design Aegis so that it would have some sort of subscription fee or anything like that. Because again, we're not a security company, we're not a security firm. So our clients that will be distributing this to their clients, they may have an additional subscription fee through their own services that they're providing, which they've integrated Aegis into. But there'll be no subscription-based model from NandLogic. There'll be a licensing fee, and then like a yearly licensing renewal fee, which will be dramatically less than the initial fee.
I mean, honestly, that pricing makes sense. I mean, even for a homeowner at $600 to $800, maybe more, maybe less, is honestly not a big lift for what it does, especially if all the bells and whistles. And then the channel market, obviously, the resellers or integrators you want to work with. Do you feel like it's going to take like more of a designated integrator to work with you guys, or are you going to work with any kind of integrator, or is it really just
no? We're flexible, so we're going to work with any kind, right? The fact that we are embedded systems designers, that we're used to sort of getting a set of requirements that is different from one customer to the next, and then taking that set of requirements and then developing the system based on that. So with Aegis, we gave ourselves a baseline already functional, workable system. So there are, whatever requirements that we get from the client, we don't have to start from the ground up. Of course, we're starting, 90% done. And, we just customize that last 10% of the way to adapt Aegis to your specific use case, basically. So.
Yeah, I'm not here to like shit on integrators. I've shit on integrators in the past, but I just feel like you guys, man, are the experts, So sometimes you have to handhold and babysit integrators when it comes to a solution you're trying to resell,
Okay. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. We don't mind that because Aegis is definitely a very high tech device, right? There's a lot of things going on in it that probably the typical integrator may not understand or might find it intimidating. So we're fully prepared to walk them through the process to get it integrated into the environment smoothly, so that from the client's perspective, from the user perspective, it's plug and play, right? They'll walk in, turn on, and wow, all of a sudden they'll be getting new data, different types of alerts, and they will feel more informed about the environments that they're responsible for monitoring.
Well, that's good. I mean, every end user wants an easy button, and I'll tell you, every integrator wants an easy button. And even though some of them take a little bit more of education to learn, but there are more educated integrators out there. And I do want to make an introduction to one of my go-to integrators, actually my favorite integrator. I'm not going to put their name on the call because I might piss off some other integrators listening in, but I want to make an introduction to an integrator there in Oklahoma City, just because I played ball at Oklahoma. I got a very heavy foot traffic there, but great integrator. They do a lot of business with schools. They do a lot of business with casinos, hospitals. They actually do they work with Chief Stout, which we spoke earlier before we kicked us off live. So I'll make the introduction for you, Derrick, if you're okay with that.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, please do.
Well, man, I guess a couple more questions here, Derrick. I mean, obviously, I'm obviously excited to promote you guys, get your guys out into the security industry. And one of these things, man, that we talk about, at least what I've seen on the security side, is we've been such a reactive industry at times. Where when I mean that, what I mean by that is, something like 9/11 has to happen or
Right.
COVID has to happen for us to actually wake up and do things.
Yeah.
With the caveat of it takes like technology companies outside the security industry to really give us the kick in the ass that we need to really
Yeah.
be progressive. So I think a company like you guys, a technology driven, obviously engineering design company is healthy for the security industry because again,
Yeah.
man, we kind of operate in the dinosaur age sometimes, and it takes
That's true.
a company
Yeah.
like you guys to really give us that heads up.
Yeah, very true. So the thing I would say about that is I believe that's sort of kind of a human failing, like you say, that we're very reactive and not proactive. And
Yeah.
that really, it stems from you don't know what you don't know,
Right.
right? So you do need someone or something to make you aware of the blind spots and vulnerabilities that you have. Because if you are not aware of them, how are you going to find them out unless something exploits that vulnerability?
Right.
Right. And that's where artificial intelligence comes in at, right? It is designed to make you aware of the vulnerabilities that you have, so that you can shore up those vulnerabilities before a bad actor exploits them. That is, one of the primary missions of AEGIS. That is what it is trying to accomplish, it's trying to make you aware of the current state of your environment and taking in that data and looking at that consumable data, because all of the data that we give you is very consumable. Looking at it, the human mind will see things, of course, that the AI cannot see, but that's the whole point, right? Is to present the data and present the information to a human mind, and that mind will become aware of these vulnerabilities and start shoring things up. But again, don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. One of the other things too that we see a lot in the industry, Derek, is the convergence of cyber and physical coming together because
Mm-hmm.
obviously active shooters are somewhat still relevant. Mental health is a big thing in education, but
Mm-hmm.
we talk about hacking now. A lot of people are getting exploited by hacks, and one of the things in schools, in particular, man, is these kids think it's cool to be a black hat, where it's cool to hack things and be, exposed
Yeah,
and shut down the school. But how do we
right.
shift that mentality to be more of a cyber patriot? So, walk me through kind of this any kind of cybersecurity component of Aegis and how the device is
Okay.
secure from hacks or anything in
Right.
place that you guys have put in the
Yeah.
device.
So all of the data on Aegis is encrypted on the device. So it's encrypted with 256-bit encryption on the
Nice.
device. And in addition to that, the protocol, the communication protocol, is totally unknown. It's in-house developed by Nand Logic, and there's a special encryption that we have on the communication protocol. So Aegis can be configured to either communicate wirelessly or through an Ethernet. But either way, right, through wirelessly or through an Ethernet, there are several layers of security protocols that we have in place that make it virtually impossible to decrypt the data that's being passed around. So, and I can guarantee you, there's no high school student that's going to do it. You forget that. That's not going to happen.
It's just
Right?
wild, man. Out like school nowadays, these kids are doing that. When I went to school, it was
Yeah.
a tornado drill. Every now and then, right? But wasn't
Right.
kids hacking things. It's just
Very
it's
true.
it's a whole different environment, man. But
Yeah.
I guess Derek, last question, man. I just personal professional goals for 2025, man. I know we've got the launch of Aegis coming up, and which is
Right.
exciting, and I definitely want to continue to promote you guys. But for you
Mhm.
personally, as the founder and CTO of Nand Logic, as well as the founder of Aegis, any personal professional goals, man, for you this year?
So, toward the end of this year, we want to add some different hardware feature capabilities to Aegis. Something involving drones. So I'll
Oh,
just
nice.
say that, and so hopefully this
Little
will be,
teaser.
an additional feature subset that we can add to Aegis internally towards, like the end of the year, and maybe push that out towards the end of next year. But primarily, we're focused on, meeting as many security providers as we can, system integrators as we can. We're focusing on schools, large apartment structures, casinos, gaming, that sort of thing, and also governmental sectors. So we have a lot of interest from the Army, and believe it or not, some interest from the Navy.
Oh, wow.
They have a huge mandate to raise situational awareness on ships. There was a huge ship fire that happened out here in San Diego several years back, where the ship, burned in the harbor
Mm.
for several days, and it was a complete and total loss. And believe it or not, one of the problems was they did not know where the fire was at in the ship. they couldn't locate it. They didn't know where it started. They didn't know what room was on fire. So there's a huge mandate in the U.S. Navy to raise situational and environmental awareness on these ships, and Aegis is one of the is well suited to help the Navy with that. So that's really the plan is to roll it out into those different industries and get it customized and tailored for the different environments that we want to deploy it into.
Man, can you imagine if the Navy or the Army put a mandate for Aegis for every single ship or unit,
Wow.
or just imagine the federal income dollars or federal dollars you're gonna be dealing with, man. That's a lot of capital. It's a long sales cycle on the federal side, but man, there's a lot of capital to be taken advantage of.
Definitely, yeah, and the engineering dream of it is that we would have so much more research capital.
Yeah.
To add different feature subsets to it, right? To deploy Aegis in a variety of different ways, monitoring soldiers, monitoring the vitals of sailors on ships. That would be very, very, very cool. So so that is exciting.
I think the more opportunities you guys can get to put the device in real world applications, whether it's a school or a casino or it's for the Navy or the Army, it only makes the device better, makes the models better, right? Because you get real world elements. And so
exactly.
I think that's awesome to think about it and look forward to from my side, man. But if more people want more information about yourself as well as the company, where's the best place to do that, Derrick?
So the best place to do that is you can get in contact with me through email on NandLogic, and it's SOCNet, N-E-T, at NandLogic.com. Aegis is at NandLogic.com/Aegis, AEGIS. You can go there, check it out. You can always look me up on LinkedIn. I generally try to respond within an hour or so. If I'm very busy, I'll get back to you the next day. But ping me on LinkedIn, send us an email, and we'll get back to you.
He's not lying, guys and girls. He is pretty quick to respond from my time. I lied, Derrick. I have one more question, man, and I forgot to ask this question earlier. But typically, how I end in podcasts, man, is I ask you a 60-second hot seat question, and essentially what that question is why Aegis or why NandLogic? So in 60 seconds, man, why Aegis, dude? Why Aegis?
Okay, so the Aegis, because it's customizable and tailorable to every specific environment use case. And I think that in general, I would say, like I said, for example, most schools are about 70% the same. But there's that 30% of difference that could be the difference in between life and death. And you need systems that are customized, that are tailored, that can dynamically tailor themselves, dynamically recustomize themselves to account for that 30% that you didn't think of, that you didn't know about. You need systems like this to make you aware of your vulnerabilities that you are not aware of, and you don't know what you don't know. That's why you need systems like this that are navigating the environment, trying to understand the environment, pulling in all sorts of data streams from different parts of the environment to create a clear, accurate picture, and then presenting that data to you in a very consumable way. And the human brain will then figure it out. People, your security guards will figure it out. They will notice these vulnerabilities. But again, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't have these systems working in the background for you, intelligently gathering all of this data and creating alerts for you, these blind spots will continue to exist until some bad actor exploits them. You don't want that. That's why we need systems like these. Intelligence at the edge.
Mic drop, guys and girls. Nothing but the truth. I love asking that question, man, because they always get it makes a great soundbite. So I'm going to use that as a soundbite for the promotion, man. But Derrick, my friend, pleasure was all mine, dude. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today, dude.
Same here, man. I this is very cool. So I'm glad you thought of it.
Well, always an open invitation, man. If everyone will be back on an episode, I will get you some intros to more customers as well as integrators. Obviously, the one in Oklahoma, man. I'll take care of you there. And I wish you a great week, my friend.
Yes, same here, man. It was really good. I had a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
Well, guys and girls, that was Derrick Jones, the founder and CTO of NandLogic and the creator of Aegis. Guys, it is very exciting. If you're not familiar with Aegis yet, make sure to go connect with Derrick on LinkedIn, as well as check out the SVIP website. We did an article about the device. And again, stay tuned for when the device goes GA and goes launch, because I think it's going to be an absolute game changer in the security industry. If you guys want more information about our podcast series, make sure to tune in at svip.news, wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. The list goes on. You guys stay safe out there. We'll catch you guys on the next one.